Okay, for question number one, do you think that people should use social media and exercising their freedom of speech? For me, yes. The internet and social media has become a vital communication tool through which individuals can exercise their right of freedom of expression and exchange information or ideas. This platform is one way of gaining friends. This is also a way of communicating others far away. And so I think this is one way of exercising our rights. For question number two, what should be the limits of freedom of speech in social media? So, in everything that we do, we should think before we click. We should be careful of what we share online. We should be accountable of what we should be accountable, and also we should be reliable on what we post or what we share online. And last thing, we should know our limitation for us to avoid any misconception to others. Okay, for the last question, should we hold people accountable for misuse or abuse of social media and exercising their freedom of speech? Why or why not? So we should hold people accountable for everything they do or they say. To be accountable means to be responsible for and be able to justify one's action. That is a simple justice. Treat people as they deserve.
Do you think that people should use social media in exercising their freedom of speech? For me, yes, because it is by individual subjective in different perception, and it is the individual rights to express, to share our thoughts, uh, especially in our world today, because we are always in the presence of social media, and social media, it also our communication tool to connect our family, loved ones, and friends. I agree, and we should use social media but in a proper way. What should be the limits of freedom of speech in social media? For me, the limits of freedom of speech in social media is that spreading of fake news or misinformation, as well the harassment that cause harmful and threatening to others, that affects the living of the individuals. Should we hold people accountable for misuse or abuse of social media in exercising their freedom of speech? Why or why not? Of course, we should hold people accountable for misusing social media in the same way if we see if the action had done illegally and harassment, and if the effects of what they shared can be demonstrated negatively. Of course, everyone should responsible and accountable with it through legal basis or legal process.
Hi, I'm Taris Velasquez Loyak, and tonight I have here a three question from my friend. First, do you think that people should use social media and exercising their freedom of speech? Well, first of all, I am one of the fan of social media, especially on Facebook. But then I think not all people should use social media in exercising their freedom of speech. Why? Because sometimes people tend to overreact, or criticize others than to understand or respect their privacy. Actually, let me say this, that social media is a matter of respecting and understanding others than reacting or criticizing. But sometimes we are like that. We are just want to express what's in our mind, or what we want to do, or what we want to say, but not realizing that we already hurt the other feelings of people. That's why in social media, or it's not really important if we have freedom of speech or not. That's why we must be very careful, or be responsible of what words we utter to others in social media, because sometimes it will hurt their feelings. It's not a matter of expressing what we want to speak. It's a matter of realizing on how to care the other feelings of people. And I think though freedom of speech is good, but sometimes it's bad in a way of not all speech will give you freedom. In short, freedom of speech is good, but not all speech will give you freedom. That's why we must have a limit. And that's all. The second question is, what should be the limits of freedom of speech in social media? Well, I think the limit of freedom of speech in social media is that no to verbal abuse and no to fake news. No one would like to hear fake news in social media, especially it will affect the lives of others. And verbal abuse should be avoided, especially it will harms to others. And that's why in social media we must be very responsible to the words that we utter, and we must be very careful. The third question, or the last question, is, should we hold people accountable for misuse or abuse of social media and exercising their freedom of speech? Why or why not? As what I said before, freedom of speech is good, but not all speech will give you freedom. That's why for this question, people should be responsible for it, especially if they harm people. I do believe that there must be a punishment. It's just enough if they have a punishment, because it's not easy to be depressed or to be ashamed publicly because of their wrongdoings.
Should we hold people for misuse or abuse of social media and exercising their freedom of speech? Why or why not? So for me, it's a yes, because we should hold people accountable for everything they do or say. That is simple justice. Treat people as they deserve. However, everyone's fundamental right is to be free from force initiated by others. So if people say stupid things or plain outright lies, you should hold them accountable, mock them, block them, criticize them, or argue with them if it's possible. But the only action which justify legal force are those which do or objectively do to or legally do criminal acts against others. Holding people legally accountable for anything less will be a far greater abuse. That will be all. Thank you.